Good afternoon and welcome to the Carolina Codecast, the official podcast of the Carolina Code Conference. With me today is Vincent Mayers. Say hello, Vincent.
Hey folks, how are you? Hope you're having a good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are listening, watching.
Yep. Well, thank you for joining us today. So introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself a little bit. What you doing, where you living, what you've been up to.
Yeah. So again, Vincent Mayers. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for 22 years. I'm not from Atlanta. I'm from London originally. I moved here in 2002 to start a staffing business with some friends. I was a tech recruiter for 20 years. More about that later, I guess. And I've always stayed. I've always stayed in Atlanta. It's home now. I've got a young family here. I joke about it, but it's actually true. I'm not a software engineer, but I do play one on TV. I'm involved in a whole bunch of tech community initiatives in the open source world, in the college world, and also in the local community.
Nice. So you're pretty busy. So I know you've got a pretty big event coming up in April. So tell us about that a little.
Yeah. So Devnexus, the hat, I guess. Devnexus is a Java ecosystem conference that is run by the Atlanta Java users. So it's this year's the 20th year that the JUG Java Users Group has run an event. The first one was in 2004. Single day, single track, friends and family speaking. And it kind of morphed along Java DevCon, we called it, for a couple of years. And then Sun Microsystems took it over for 2 years with their Sun Tech Days roadshow. And they rolled into Atlanta with a whole bunch of speakers and paraphernalia and, a semi-truck full of servers and stuff. I made a big deal out of it. And then Sun got bought by Oracle, I believe 2009 or 2008, 9. And then in 2009, we kicked off Devnexus. And, I think the first ever Devnexus proper had about 600 people, and we pre-pandemic 2020 got up to 2,400, and we're probably going to be around 2,000 people this year in April. So,
Wow.
The JUG is a non-profit. We're all volunteers that work on this. It's not our day jobs. It takes a lot. And, but interestingly, because the Java User Group has run an event since 2004, it's, we can say it's actually the longest running Java conference in the world. And because we have 14 to 15 concurrent tracks, the largest Java ecosystem conference in the world. Not necessarily the number of people that come, but in the number of speakers and sessions. So
that's something else. I found out about Devnexus through Charles Nutter, who spoke there recently, and he was one of the keynotes for our conference this past year, and so he had he spoke very highly of the event, and so one of the things that the way that we met, just so people have some idea of how we got together on this. I reached out to you because I've kind of learned through the process of trying to get this conference going, the Carolina Code Conference, that a lot of people who run other conferences are very willing to share and help support other conferences. It's the sort of unknown network of conference organizers that everybody's kind of happy and willing to support each other, which has been great. And I've gotten a lot of good advice over the years, and you were kind enough to reinforce that stereotype for me and jump on a call and kind of talk to me a little bit and give me a little advice. And just so on that, we decided, you should really come on the show and talk about it a little bit more.
As I said, Barry, it's hard enough as it is putting these things on, and they're really non-trivial. It sounds like, oh, well, straightforward. You just do A, B, and C, but the list goes on to Z and then starts over. So it's hard enough as it is without being happy to share with anyone else that's trying to do it.
That is, that's pretty accurate, I would say. I know whenever I took this one over, I definitely thought it was going to be less involved. but it's it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of interesting people too.
Well, it's, during the events and other events I do, it's like people always say, "Hey man, are you having fun?" I'm like, "No, I'm actually not having fun. I am enjoying myself. Don't get me wrong. I always would do it. But during the event, fun is not really part of the program for me because there's just so much going on that I've got to pay attention to. And, just inputs coming everywhere from all sorts of people about minutia and hopefully just minutia because that means, everything's going well. But I don't mind. I mean, but there you go. I am not having fun during the event. I am enjoying it. After the event, happy hour, then I'm having fun.
Exactly. It's a lot easier to relax when it's done. But during it, your whole goal is just to make sure that everybody else is having fun.
Well, I must admit, the inflection point for us as an organizing crew is the registration on the first day. And then you're still setting up for the event. The first day for Devnexus is our training day where we'll maybe 300 people doing workshops, 4-day workshops. And so it's nice that there's less people that day because it gives us an opportunity to, get the registration set up and all the kind of bugs ironed down of the various things that we need to get going and finalized. And then the next morning when, 2,000 people are registering, it's by 10 o'clock, everyone's in. Okay. Most problems have been resolved. And then really the event's kind of on autopilot, frankly, until we shut it down. Nice. Bar things like, there's a speaker didn't show up. One time a speaker didn't show up at one event and I went in the room to call it off. There were other tracks you go to. And I was like, "Hey, sorry, but I couldn't make it. You can go do, there's 7 other sessions going on, or does anyone in here have a talk they want to do right now?" And it was a data science conference. Someone was like, "Yeah, I can talk on this subject." And I was like, "Do y'all want to hear this?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, let's hear it." So the guy just kind of got out of the chair, came up to the podium, and just fiddled on his laptop for a second and then plugged it into the connector and rolled out a talk on something. Can't remember exactly. So that happens. But, speaker doesn't show up, the Wi-Fi goes, Wi-Fi spotty, or, projector isn't working, we fix that. But again, generally speaking, they're on autopilot until we shut it down after the registration. Finish it. Nice.
That's one I haven't seen before, the pulling somebody up from the audience to give a talk. I've seen that at a concert before.
Right.
And, I was at, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I went to a concert in Atlanta, actually. It was a big concert at the football stadium over there. And it was a bunch of other bands and Metallica was the big lead. And James Hetfield had been in the lead singer for Metallica had been in a jet ski accident. And so they sort of they offered to give everybody who was there a free ticket and do a makeup concert later. But, in the meantime, they decided just to try to entertain everybody. They pulled all of the other bands in and they just sort of did a set with, people from other groups playing different instruments and playing songs. And they even pulled a couple people up out of the audience to try to sing like Master of Puppets and stuff. And it was awesome. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
That is very cool.
Yeah. It was a good time. Atlanta's an interesting place. So.
Yeah, it can be.
So, how exactly did you get into this?
Well, I was a tech recruiter for just over 20 years. I was working in London, for an American company. I worked for this company for 5 or 6 years. And then, come 2002, some of the Americans two of the gentlemen I worked with were back in the States and they were like, "Oh, we want to start our own company. Why don't you come and help?" And, one guy was in Dallas, another guy was in Tampa. And, I was like, "Sure. It sounds like a lot of fun." And we picked Atlanta for a bunch of different reasons. It's the biggest hub in the Southeast. I guess the main reason. And then I thought I'd be here for, maybe 2-3 years. And then and then go back. And then I've just stayed the whole time. And then, so being a recruiter around 2004, we were doing we had a lot of requests for J2E, Java 2 Enterprise, right? That was the tech stack everyone was raving about in enterprise at the time.
I remember I was in that world at the time.
So I found the Java user group. I wanted to, I sponsored the Java user group. You could put a banner on the wall and bring jobs to hand out to people. And I was like, I need to do this. And, so I could grow my network, meet some, potential, consultants for us to work with or customers or have you really learn more about, the tech stacks. And I realized a long time ago as a recruiter, the importance of understanding a tech stack when you're interviewing your candidates. I remember being in London in, I think it's around 96, 97, just before Java was mainstream. And the tech stack du jour in banking was specifically practice was banking. C++ on Sybase with Pamela front end. So that was the kind of enterprise dev stack at the time. And so I remember being in a meeting, and I was doing my sales pitch. It's like, oh yeah, we can help you. We can provide all these engineers. They know C++, they know Sybase, they know Corba. And the guy's like, oh, stop there. What's Corba? And so what? It's common object request broker architecture. And the tool that everyone uses is right now is Orbix by Honor out of Dublin. And he was blown away that I knew this. But I knew I had to know this stuff because in my credibility and also, again, in interviewing people, I had to ask the right questions. So I wanted to learn more about this Java stack. And I just stayed connected over the years. And even when I stopped, we eventually sold our staffing company, 2013, 14.
Congratulations.
And, I just stayed involved because I liked it. Around 2000, I guess when we started the first event in 2009, Devnexus, called Devnexus, not the first event. The guy that was running it was leaving. He worked for Red Hat, or JBoss really, and was moving for work. And he said, hey, can you join the board? You're a business guy. You could handle a bunch of these things that we need a room at the hotel where we meet and stuff like that. We have a bank account. So I got asked to join the board of the JUG and really that's how I got, and then became kind of the de facto organizer of the conference. And okay, you organize it. Well, I've never organized a conference before. Well, what do I do? I mean, I've been to it, of course. Well, I guess we need the venue contract with the venue, and then we need catering, and then we need sponsors and contracts with sponsors, and then we need AV, and then we need badges and swag and registrations and on and on and on. And so I just kind of became the de facto organizer of this thing that I'd never done before. And really, that's how it started.
That starts. Yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up getting into, as far as just becoming the organizer, not of course the entire backstory, but, with this conference, it was the Joel Tay who started the conference back in 2018. People kept asking, when it was coming back again in last year, post COVID finally. And, I kept trying to find people to take it over. I kept trying to help him take it over. And eventually I realized that it probably just needed to be me. But, so let's see. So you come from a non-technical background. Now, ahead of the show, you told me what your degree was in. You have a non-technical degree.
Well, the fancy term for it is three-dimensional design ceramics. In reality, It was pottery. I did pottery at school for 4 years.
Nice.
And actually, it's funny why. I was, when I went to high school, a little different in the UK. You major in 3 subjects, I suppose, to prepare you for what you go to university for. And I was majoring in maths, physics, and engineering. I wanted to be a civil engineer. That was in my head when I was 16. And, applied science and technology, was my strongest, pass from the previous years in high school. And, I was doing A-level maths, physics, and engineering. I had failed maths exam the previous summer though. And, I was retaking it but I was in the advanced maths class and the teacher hated me because how dare I be in advanced maths having failed, and retaking an exam. And, she made my life hell in only the way a teacher can make your life hell. And, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So, I switched completely, and did geography, art and ceramics, pottery, in my last 3 years of high school. And then I went to art school for 4 years.
And that's an interesting path to get there, but, have you done anything with that?
So my creative outlet now is all the kind of creative elements that we need for these events that we do. And there's a lot of those. It's not just the t-shirt. It's all the signage. And, we decide a theme every year and then change it. And so all the elements have to be different, all the signage, all the badges, all the email creative, all the email copy. Every single email, you guys realize that don't send out emails for a living. Every single email you send out needs to be designed. The image needs to be designed. The copy needs to be designed. Everything has to be designed. The layout needs to be designed every single time. It's a non-trivial thing. It isn't. I'll send an email. It can be. But, so anyway, that's my creative outlet right now. It's things like that.
Thus far, I've been using a Substack. And so they don't even let you put in a design. It's basically just, you can put in images or something like that, but it's basically just emailing a giant blog post. It's all pre-formatted for you and everything. But,
every single tweet needs to be designed if you use an image.
That's true.
You don't have to use an image, but if you do, you got to design it.
Yeah. And I guess it does make sense to really have a good creative outlet through a lot of this stuff. I mean, I've always been kind of a hobbyist writer. I've loved writing since I was in high school, and most of what I do with all these various emails and everything and the blog posts that get written up about the conference, it's sort of just a little bit of a writing outlet that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like, these days I admit I'll use chat if I'm doing a press release or something or an email on a new subject. I will use ChatGPT, but I use ChatGPT or Gemini Bard, and I'll give it a prompt and I'll see what it says. And then I'll ditch 50% of it, just garbage. And then the other 50%, I'll change about 40%. So, it's a productivity tool. It's never going to do what
get you started
to do. Because, I know the out, and it's actually the same with code. If you're using one of these things that are based on an LLM, you can just ask, GPT used to go, no, you've got to know what the output is anyway. You've got to know the right answer. Okay. Or you can't just take what it gives you. You can use it and evaluate what it gives you, and it will save you time, but you can't just use what it gives you. You've got to be an expert already, I think, to use these things successfully. And then look at what they give you, what the outputs are, and then modify them, so they're actually accurate. It'll save you time.
Yeah. They're great brainstorming tools. Yeah. Just give me an idea. What's a good suggestion to do for something like this? Yeah. You keep running it over and over and over, you might get some good inspiration.
Yes,
but
no doubt.
My fear with that stuff is the number of people who don't realize that you need to be an expert to interpret the output.
Well, that'll be, that'll sort itself out fairly quickly, I think.
You hope.
Prompt engineering is the new term, right? Well, it's not going to solve the problems, It's funny because in broad terms, AI is taking our job. You know what? Somebody still needs to turn the machine on. So no, not all the jobs.
Yep. Well, luckily there's a lot of spaces for people to get together and talk about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you've been in Atlanta for 22 years. I know you're involved with Devnexus now, and you have been for a while, but this is not the only conference that you've been involved with or are currently involved. So talk to me about some of the other areas where you are deeply involved.
Sure. So, I guess 13 years ago, my partner Pratik, my friend Pratik, he's one of the other JUG board members, was like, hey, we should run a web dev conference in Atlanta. There isn't one. And I was like, well, sure. We know that we know how to do it. We know the venue and all that. So we just started one, Connect.Tech, Connect.Tech.
Okay.
We called it, or Connect.js, I think, let's start with. And, that kind of like grew up into, I mean, it's again, post-COVID, we're not back to the pre-COVID numbers, but that grew up at one point to the largest multi-framework front-end conference in the country, with like 8 to 10 tracks on various things over 3 days. Tracks on Vue, React, Angular, Advanced JavaScript, server-side JavaScript, Web CSS and others. And then we were like, well, we should do some others because this is kind of fun. So we started a business basically to do that. And then we added a VueJS conference. We run the only US VueJS conference. We've done, a data science conference in the past. This is all pre-pandemic. That kind of shut a lot down. Data science one, .NET event. We even did a blockchain conference and that was funny.
What was that like?
Well, we wanted, in hindsight, a little bit foolishly, to do a blockchain, an engineering blockchain conference, something with content for software engineers, not just with wallet this, coin that, governance panel, legal issues the other. We wanted to do a conference with actual meaningful content for people that are building these systems. And I thought it went really well. I mean, in hindsight, we should have just done any old wallet and coin event and we had thousands of people because at the time that's all. But it was actually a lot of fun. It went down really well. It wasn't ever huge. I think we did it twice. We had the CEO BitPay do a keynote BitPays in Atlanta. And people from CryptoKitties and people like that in the space that came out. It was a lot of fun actually meeting these folks. So this kind of morphed into a little side hustle, which turned into a main hustle in 2019. And I quit my day job, my tech career, to do that full time because I could finally afford to pay the stupid healthcare and support my family. And then pandemic hit, and then they all went virtual. We did them all virtual to keep the brands alive, but they don't make money, so I had to go back to work. And then I've just recently quit my corporate job again to focus on this full time. So
congratulations.
I'm self-employed again. It's funny because I remember when I was 20, in my early 20s, after college, I was a full-time pro athlete for a while.
Really?
I was a whitewater kayaker. And I
really?
was a pro whitewater kayaker for 8 years after college. And I started started a business to make paddles, kayak paddles, and other types of accessories for kayaking that made with carbon fiber and stuff. And thinking about the parallels to today, if I was starting that business today, I'd be like, oh, you know what? I'm a founder. I got a startup. Back then, and as far as I'm concerned, even now, it's like, no, I'm self-employed. I gotta make stuff, sell it, and make money. Don't make anything, and sell it. Don't make any money. I got a business. There's no glamour to it. Okay, it's startup, founder. This is my title. So what? None of that makes any difference. Make something, sell it. Otherwise, you don't have any money to pay the rent or whatever.
One of my founder that I know who started, who fully bootstrapped his own company in North Carolina. He typically refers to his title as janitor.
There you go.
And he really owns the I don't want a title. He said quite well, but and he can describe it pretty well too, because it says I have to clean up all the messes.
Yeah, there you are. It's so anyway, we have this business, and now that's what I'm doing again full time, which allows me to spend more time on my other kind of community efforts, and not go to bed at 2 a.m. So
yeah. Luckily, I've been able to balance things a little bit, but then again, I also don't have a full-time job, so it's easy for me to balance a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, and I'm also not doing one quite the scale that you were at just yet.
I mean, for the longest time, I mean, the last 15 years ago, so I've always had my day job and then my side hustle, and just, I've worked remote though. I've worked remote for the last 10 years. You know, it wasn't, or 11 years now. It wasn't a new thing because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of flexibility that comes with that. Inevitably during the day, I'm doing something connected to my business. You know, not all day long, but you know, I've got an answer, an email, something like that. But it does mean that, you know, I do have to work late into the evenings most every single day because there's just too much to do. And, you know, I've got, you know, an 9-year-old and an 11-year-old at home. So, and a wife, 2 dogs and 2 cats. So there's a lot going on. And having 2 full-time jobs is challenging.
Yeah. You gotta carve out the family time in the evening, and that puts you restarting work after the kids go to bed, typically after everybody else goes to bed. So
spend some time with my wife too.
Yeah. Well, my wife tends to go to bed pretty early. And so if I ever need to stay up late, I can, but luckily so far so good. I've managed to avoid letting much get into my evenings lately. Occasionally there's no choice, but for the most part, you're pretty balanced. But so whitewater kayaking, now I want to hear a little bit more about that. How did you get started in that, and to the point that you became a pro?
Well, so Boy Scouts is the short story.
Nice.
I was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, I think. Cub Scout and Boy.
I'm an Eagle Scout, so.
And we did kayaking as part of one of the activities on the canal in our town, and I really liked it. I think I only did it twice. And then that year we went to a scout camp, which was next to a river where there's little rapids, little flow. It wasn't even a rapid, little ripples. And they wouldn't let me go down it. And because I'd only been twice, I was like so disappointed. And then the opportunity came up when I was 13, at school. There was a PE, physical education instructor that was a kayak instructor. And he said, I'm trying to get the boys together to go kayaking for our PE session. Well, I'll go. And so we went to the local club and then, you know, we did that there. And then I found out about the club. I didn't know about it. And then started to cycle there after school once a week to go. And then, as luck would have it, one of the instructors at that club lived in my street, called Steve Bedford. So he, then, you know, when I found that out, he would take me on Tuesdays. Took a bit of an interest in me because I was super interested in this. You know, he would give me extra coaching and then help me with going to competitions for the first time. And I remember going to watch the World Championships for this in the UK in 1981. Yeah, I've done the day myself here. I'm 100 years old. And so Steve took me up to North Wales to watch this thing. And I was just amazed at how slalom, I did slalom whitewater kayaking. It's like slalom skiing. You paddle down the rapid in between the poles. And you know, you're timed from the start to the finish. And if you hit one of the poles, you get a time penalty. So everyone's going down between these poles, down the rapids between the poles. And I was just enthralled by this. And then I was like, I really want to do this more. And then, after college, you know, I just got better and better at it. And then after college, I moved up to North Wales and, started this paddle making business. And then that was my job for, until I guess 93. And then, you know, I made it to the World Championships in 1993. And then I was like, okay, you know, gold cup. I didn't win. I was in the top, which I was super happy with, by the way. And cause I was there, you know. And, anyway, that was, that's how that came about. But, it's interesting. There's so many parallels between the tech community that I'm in now and that community of kayakers. Actually, the same is true for any group of people that goes somewhere that are passionate about something, that have a common goal or interest and everyone's passionate about it. The communities that form around it, so the dynamic that we all had when we were in this paddling community is exactly the same ones we have with the tech community, with the folks that I know that I see at these various events. Back then it was athletes at kayaking events. Now it's nerdy engineers at tech events.
So now I've got to ask, have you ever heard of Confluence Kayaks?
Confluence? No.
Yeah. What about Perception?
Obsession.
Okay. All right. There's a kayak manufacturer that's literally less than a mile from my house. And I think it might have actually become one of those, then changed or been acquired or something like that. But they're huge in the Greenville area now. They moved their location from where I live, just outside of to in the middle of it now. But just had to ask, since I had a
Perception is one of the major brands in both recreational kayaking, whitewater kayaking, and then competition. Right.
Nice. All right. Well, let's see. What else do we have to cover here? And I know you've also been involved with some open source projects as well.
Yeah. So, it was, let's see now, I think during the pandemic. So some of our friends, worked for a company called Tommy Tribe, that running building services around Tommy server, and they were core committers on Microprofile, project. And Microprofile is in the Eclipse Foundation. And, around 2000, they needed to, there's various, those of you that understand, these foundations, open source foundations, there's various varying layers that you're at when you come into this project. You start out, and when you're more mature, and then when it's your sunset again. But anyway, Microprofile needed to go into the incubating stage, in order for them to better release Microprofile 3. And that involved having, to form both a steering committee and a working group of core of companies, entities that would have representatives on the steering committee, would then make, the working group. And so in the ESF, you need five, working group founding member companies. And sometimes, this is like Red Hat and an IBM and Microsoft, I think. In these foundations, it can be those, whatever, because people that work there have a vested interest in steering the direction of these open source tools, because it benefits everything else. Anyway, they needed another one, to make up 5. So I was like, okay, well, the amount of Java users we'll become one of the founding members of the steering, because we're incorporated, we're a company. So we did. So we joined the ESF, and then now that, because we're a member, now we have, a committed member from our board and the general, so now I'm on the board. Major open source projects with a degree in pottery.
You never know what path you're going.
But, I can contribute in some ways. Get involved in the marketing course, for example. That kind of is my background in all the things I do with events and stuff. But, I'm on the other calls as well, just helping I have a perspective on stuff we do. I might not be an engineer, perspective is valuable, no matter who it's from. So, so it's and it's a great learning curve for me, actually, learning how these things work, planning my work. But at the end of the day, just happy to be able to contribute, to get involved, to help project achieve its goals.
That's good work. And so, you mentioned that, you felt like it was important for you to give back to the tech community. And that's how you got involved with this stuff in the first place. And so, talk about that a little bit.
Because initially my interest in sponsoring the Java user group was, it wasn't completely altruistic. I wanted to get something out. I wanted to expand my network and learn more and meet new people. But just as time passed, the Java community is it's a really good community. Everyone's super helpful. You mentioned you think organizers are helpful. Well, the expert groups within Java, the influencers and the experts are always super helpful too. They'll answer questions from anybody, anytime, spend any amount of time with the people that are trying to learn or are interested in them or what they're doing. So I just like being around this group. And it got to the point where, because I stopped being a recruiter, there was no business benefit for me anymore. But it didn't matter. I'm invested in the community.
That's a good way to do it,
though. And then running the Java user group is another one. And it's, you might think, well, if you run a meeting every month, that's not that hard. And you're right, it's not hard, but there's a lot that goes into it. You've got because we run a conference, we have funds and we rent a room in a co-working space every month. And before that, it was in a hotel to run our event. A lot of meetup or, user group organizers run into, they're always looking for space to run this thing. And, they're somewhat at the mercy of a company or whoever will give them a room for the evening. But, things change. Things change on a dime. And, oh, well, and I've heard all this, I've seen all this happen. Oh, we can't have the room this month because the CEO needs it, for a last minute thing, or, we're redoing the security system, and so you can't come in. All the toilets don't work. Well, no, we changed our security policy. Outsiders can't come. Or the person that you're dealing with, leaves to go to another company or changes roles, and there's no one new to be your champion. So you lose the space, and then you're looking for a space every other month. So that's why we pay for it.
So when you get one of these, when you get a meetup space or something like that to run these events out, what goes on in those areas, kind of the behind the scenes coordination?
Well, I mean, okay, so we get the space and then we pay for it. And now the other things you don't have, like we provide food every month for the members, and we record, the session every month. And, it's actually they're not on YouTube. They're on, the AV vendors. I'm going to work on that. And then we need a speaker every month. So then we've got to advertise it every month. So, there's steps that you need to take to set the meeting up, set up the speaker, set up the food, set up the AV, make sure you have the room. We book the room a year in advance. So there's no issues. We have it on the third Tuesday of the month, whatever date that is. Some months that's the 15th, other months it's the 22nd or 21st or something. Whatever date, the third Tuesday. Because we like for people to be on autopilot. Oh, it's this Tuesday. At the same time, the same place. So it's a lower cognitive lift about coming to the thing. So there's all that. And then, like I said, making sure you have food and a speaker. Most of the time, a speaker from the local community. Sometimes it's someone that we fly in from out of town. Or someone from one of our sponsors will want to present on a topic. As long as it's not a product pitch and it's related to Java, then we'll consider it.
Excellent. So, I know in April you've got Devnexus coming up. I'm looking forward to coming down to that this year to kind of see things firsthand. And there's training on the first day, and then there's conferences the 2 following days. Yeah. So what so what's go on with the event this year? What's new that people can look forward to about this year's Devnexus?
So there's
if you want to take a pause and take a sip of water, feel free.
So our first day is always a training. This year there are 8 full-day workshops on a variety of subjects. Apache Pinot, Jakarta EE, General Java 1, Quarkus, Spring Boot 3, architecture, agile. So those are going on all day. On that day, we also have a couple of community related things going on. We host a JUG Leader Summit, Java User Group Leader Summit on that day as well. And, it's something that, Oracle as the custodian of Java, it's never really done. They've never really put this together. And we decided some years ago, we need to have a JUG Leader Summit. A lot of these folks come into Devnexus anyway because they're speaking, or they might be part of the program because they're a sponsor. But we also pay for a bunch of people to come as well. We pay their hotel and flight to come from like Guatemala or Serbia or whatever. We don't have a unlimited budget, so a little bit of a lottery, but we want to give people the opportunity to gather, and JUG leaders will sit and talk about the same things that event organizers talk about. How do we accomplish these common goals? How do we show up? We got space. How do we get more people to come? How do we grow the community? How do we encourage younger people that are newer into the tech to come? So we have a half a day of that, or a day of that on that first day. And this year, for the first time, we're also hosting a Java Champions Summit. Now, the Java Champions are they're the Java kind of expert group, in the same way that Google has the GDG and Microsoft has Microsoft MVPs. So Oracle used to do this every year at Java 1 and then Code 1, their big annual conference, and stopped doing. Well, last one was 2019. That this group gathered to talk about program-related issues, or in the past it would also be the architects, the language and platform architects from Oracle for Java would talk about new features, and we'd get a sneak peek to what's coming up in the keynotes and stuff. But this group, the main reason this group needs to gather is because it needs to gather, and everyone who can be there just see each other and have some community fellowship, because most of them know each other. So that's on the first day. And then the second day, there's 14 concurrent tracks, with like 45 to an hour long session, and, lunch. We feed people properly at these things. Nice hot buffet lunch. We'll have about 50 sponsors, vendors giving away swag. I'm trying to get a Tesla Cybertruck. Okay. I was at Developer Week in San Francisco last week, and they had a Tesla Cybertruck in the exhibit hall. People could line up and go look inside it and see what's inside it. I'm like, so I went to the dude. I was like, "Hey man, how do I get one of these in Atlanta in April?" I says, "Oh, send me an email and try to figure it out." So we might get that. But then we have, we have other things going on during the day. There's a couple of different live podcasts or live videos like this going on. JFrog will do one. Bill will do one. So you can see these people getting interviewed and stuff, and then that'll go out live, and then we throw a happy hour at the venue, big happy hour with invited. And then there's always the various bar crawls and things that some of the sponsors put on afterwards. And 4 keynotes going on, and then the next day rinse and repeat. So a fair amount of things happening.
It's going to be awesome.
A women in technology breakfast on the second day, where we'll have guest speakers talk on a subject. Everyone, of course, everyone's invited to that, but the focus is on, challenges or not challenges, the things that are of particular interest to women in this tech career that we're all in.
Nice. That's absolutely a worthwhile thing to have. I've heard from a lot of conference organizers that's been events like that are specifically tailored events for tech around these conference events tend to be very well received.
And we do with the trying to balance out the program of speakers. We do everything we can to have a very balanced program that's representative of everybody. It's hard, I will tell you. But
yeah, it is. I can say that for a fact after last year.
We do the best we can. And I'll tell you what, it's, there'll be some pushback on this, because I've seen this done in the past, where when it comes down to rounding out that program, in a way that is, reflective of all sorts of, cultures and races and genders and whatever, some organizers will invite speakers just because. Okay.
There's been some incidents of that over the last couple of years in the news.
We'll absolutely never do that. I want to encourage anyone to speak at the event. In fact, we have first-time speakers at the event. They'll be on main stages. It's not just about, are you an expert or are you no. our common mix has always been, roughly speaking, 30% of the people will be somebody who may have written a book or a language or a framework. Okay. And then 30% will be, they're a developer advocate or a community luminary that, and then 30% will be people from the community that just happen to submit something and that we like the look of their talk. It may be the first time they're giving it. We'll take a fire on because it's something.
I'm glad you've got space carved out for those type of speakers. I've always thought that was really, really important. We, trying to carve out and make sure that there's a balance of letting some people get their first experience at even speaking at events in general. Do y'all do any type of lightning talks?
No, not at this one. We do the Vue conference. That's a big part of the program on both days. And, that's, attend the lightning. So if you come into the event, we do a secondary call for papers about a month before the event and invite people to submit for a lightning.
Nice. Well, I'll make sure to include links to all of the various events that go up with in the show notes.
Well, I think if anyone in the audience is how do I speak at these things? Well, start with your local community. If you live in, I don't want to say if you live in a major town, because there are plenty of small towns that have user groups. And there may not be, all right, you may be someone who's into DevOps, okay? All right, that's your thing. Like, Kubernetes. But there may be some other type of user group, other type of meeting, or about PCs or something. Gaming. Most people just go prepare a talk, submit a talk for review, and get some experience of process of writing an abstract and putting your thoughts down on paper that way and creating all these slides and then creating a narrative, creating a story. People like stories. They want to see, all right, if you're, no more than 4 bullet points on a screen. What words of advice?
Those are wise words.
My philosophy around slides is small words, big pictures, crayon font. Do that.
I like that.
But I've seen plenty of people over the years that have come and spoken at, the Java meetup we have, or the one of the 2 web dev meetups. And 2 years later, they're invited to do keynotes, in Spain.
Well, that's pretty cool. So this year, you've got a big event. It's going to be, what are the dates?
Let's see, April 9th to 11th in Atlanta.
April 9th to 11th. All right. So that's middle of the week, I believe.
Tuesday to Thursday.
All right. So April 9th to the 11th, go check out Devnexus in Atlanta, and we'll keep on the lookout for all of your other various events as well throughout the course of the year.
Yes, it's the language and platform most people will code on is going to be Java. But, there's a web track, and there's an agile track, and there's an architecture track, and architecture is architecture. Okay. You don't have to be a Java developer to benefit from the talks of people that are talking in the agile track or the architecture track or the security track, frankly.
Completely agree.
Or the web track. Lots of people do full stack stuff and they need to understand how these front ends, so one or 2 or 3 of these front end frameworks work, or various, tools to go with them.
Absolutely. I know you got a hard stop coming up, so I'm going to, let us get out of here on time, but is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
I think that, so last year was the first year I'd ever spoken myself at an event. Actually, my first ever appearance on stage was, I did the community keynote, Oracle Code 1 in 2019, 4,000 people.
Okay.
Bit of a baptism of fire. Although that was more like a production state, a play, that involved lots of different elements. It wasn't to be speaking.
More artistic.
Yeah, there was lots of stuff. And lots of people. But last year was the first year I did my own talk, which thought about an abstract and developed a concept around, basically about the importance of having intention. Software engineers understand eventual consistency, right? But you have to have intentional consistency to be successful in anything in life, and especially in these community endeavors. So what I'd leave the audience with is no matter where you live, find a group of like-minded people in your town and show up and collaborate with them. Find a hackathon. It doesn't have to be in your stack. You will have perspective that you can offer in a hackathon. Okay. You don't need to be able to write the whatever they're running it in. You'll probably be able to do some of it. You'll have a perspective on what they're trying to do that will absolutely get involved, but do it consistently. Don't just do it once. And that consistency is what really pays off. Again, in life generally, whether you're an athlete, an artist, a parent, lots of us out there, parents, you've got to be consistent. And especially when it comes to benefiting from the career that you've chosen to spend 10 hours a day with your life on. These other elements, get involved with other like-minded people at these gatherings. Do it on a regular basis. You never know what's going to come of it.
Wise words and good advice. Consistency is certainly key. But thank you for coming on the show today. Been great having you on. Looking forward to Devnexus on April 9th to the 11th in Atlanta coming up. And so hope to see some other folks there as well. But it should be a great time. Thanks again for the advice and coming on.
Absolute pleasure to be here, Barry. Thanks a lot for asking.
And so I've got to give my final shout out. Thanks to Herd Media, and as always, for helping me get this podcast started. If you're ever looking to get a podcast started or need some production assistance, contact Herd Media. With that, this has been the Carolina Codecast.